Anarchism is a topic that I quite enjoy, obviously since I consider myself an anarchist. I've done quite a bit of research, reading, and studying on many different sects of anarchism, but there's one in particular that always intrigued me: Anarcho-Transhumanism. Whenever I speak about it with someone, they automatically say, well, I thought that was just a meme ideology. This notion is certainly understandable, since it's an ideology that's, well, memed about a lot. But today, I would like to make a case as to why it's a legitimate ideology and philosophy. It's something that's never really talked about by fellow left-tubers, so I figured I might as well give a crack at it. So what is anarcho-transhumanism? It's a name that may confuse you if you're unfamiliar with transhumanist philosophy. Well, first, let's demonstrate what transhumanism actually is. Transhumanism is the belief or theory that the human race can evolve beyond its current physical and mental limitations, especially by means of science and technology. If you're having trouble visualizing such an idea, think something to the effect of Ghost in the Shell. In this show, humanity is at a point where the line between robotic and human is blurred. Almost everyone in this society has some sort of physical or genetic modification through technological advancements. This leads to many abilities. For instance, the character Bato had cybernetic eyes. Every character in this show was able to communicate to each other telepathically through their ghost. I won't go too much into detail since this is just a show, but I thought I might as well give you a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. Also think Akira, the Terminator, the Matrix, and so on and so forth. However, while the societies depicted in these works of fiction are dystopian, anarcho-transhumanists do not seek a dystopia, obviously. Not necessarily a utopia per se, but a world where you are no longer bound by the chains of physical limitations. But I'm talking about science fiction. How could this in any way be viable as a legitimate philosophy, and how can it possibly be applied to anarchism? Well, let's take two major parts of anarchism: political freedom, freedom from state tyranny; economic freedom, freedom from capitalistic tyranny. To an anarcho-transhumanist, these are very important components to their respective ideology indeed, but there is another component that's not just preferable, but essential to true freedom. This freedom is biological freedom, freedom from the tyranny of genes. Being born in the confines of a human body is not true freedom. The human body is imperfect in a lot of ways. Relatively short lifespans, eyesight easily deteriorating, birth defects, organ failure, amputations and injuries from accidents, etc. To the average human, these events are just a part of life, and we just have to deal with it. To an anarcho-transhumanist, however, another world is possible. This idea is explained in great detail by William Gillis in his short essay called What is Anarcho-Transhumanism? Anarcho-transhumanism is the recognition that social liberty is inherently bound up with material liberty, and that freedom is ultimately a matter of expanding our capacity and opportunities to engage with the world around us. It is the realization that our resistance against those social forces that would subjugate and limit us is a part of a spectrum of efforts to expand human agency, to facilitate our inquiry and creativity. This means not just being free from the arbitrary limitations our bodies might impose, but free to shape the world around us and deepen the potential of our connections to one another through it. It means the tools we use should be openly knowable and infinitely customizable. It means our bodies are not locked into processes in which we have no say. It knows that the hunger for choice behind birth control, regrown limbs, and sexual reassignment is the same hunger that organizes workers and sets fire to prisons. It is a struggle to live free, and do so for one more year, one more decade, one more century. It means not just transcending the strictures of gender, but of genetics and all previous human experience. It means fighting to be allowed the fullest actualization of who and what we want to be, whenever we want to be it. It means challenging and altering the conditions that might otherwise govern us. It means when the tools exist to better our lives, they should be used, that no one should starve when such scarcity can be eliminated. It means vigilantly engaging with nature, rather than bullying or surrendering to it. It is the knowledge that victory for the working class will only truly arrive when every worker individually owns the means of production, capable of fabricating anything and everything for themselves. It is proactive engagement with the environmental conditions that force hierarchy and inescapable collectivism. It means freeing our society from the hierarchies of two-dimensional landscapes to move our destructive infrastructures outside the biosphere, and to eventually shake off sedentary civilization and take our place as hunter-gatherers between the stars. It means cryptography, unbreakable channels of private communication added up into an unbreakable hive of ideas and knowledge. It means the abolition of public privacy, the creation of a world where the actions we take with one another are shareable and verifiable in an instant, and ultimately it will be the freedom to surpass the limited bandwidth of language and connect more and more directly to one another, to merge minds and transcend individual subjectivities as desired. Anarcho-transhumanism is all of these things, and any one of them. Now, I would like to mainly focus on that last paragraph, since it can be understandably troubling for some. The creation of a world where the actions we take with one another are shareable and verifiable in an instant? Sounds like something that could be incredibly misused, huh? That's where the important component of anarchism comes in. With the abolition of unjust hierarchies, there won't be a centralized power in the hands of a few to misuse this for thought crimes, or for worse, for tools of warfare. The component of anarchism will also rid the worry of misuse for capitalistic purposes as well, such as extraordinarily high prices for body modifications, making it only a viable option to the rich. With anarchism as a central component, the fear of transhumanism being eugenics is no more, as it's a voluntary ideal society where humankind can improve their physical conditions as they see fit. With anarcho-transhumanism, you are in complete control of your life, labor, and body. William Gillis has also discussed the danger of transhumanism under a state-controlled representative or majoritarian democracy. Anarchist activist William Gillis and others argue that the disruptive nature of emergent technologies are either incompatible or extremely dangerous with hierarchical structures of today, including representative or majoritarian democracy. Failure to challenge physical and social conditions together has been argued to risk oligarchic transhumanism, primitivism, or even extinction. Another misconception of anarcho-transhumanism is that we only focus on the positive sides of technological advance, and that we don't admit or aren't even aware of how technology can be very problematic in many aspects. But this simply is not true. We don't fetishize the idea of technology, we just have an understanding of how it can be a useful tool to vastly improve the human condition. This will take many years, most likely centuries, of experimentation and trial and error. These experiments must be completely voluntary, typically people who are interested and excited to improve their respective conditions. In fact, this type of experimentation is happening already as we speak. Meet Johnny Matheny, a working-class man who unfortunately lost his arm due to cancer. He's also the first person to ever have a mind-controlled prosthetic limb, with feelings of touch and everything.
I used to be a salesman, and in 2005, I was diagnosed with having cancer in my left forearm. It was so aggressive, it just wouldn't even slow down. So in 2008, they amputated my arm just above the elbow. I got a second chance of life. You don't think that doesn't make me happy and give me that much more of a drive? Yes, it does.
Ready and go. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and relax.
Johnny Matheny has become something of a guinea pig for experimental prosthetics.
Hand open. Okay.
What he's testing here being the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, is a glimpse into the future of how humans and machines interact. It's a mind-controlled arm that attaches directly to his skeleton, and it's the result of a decade of work and $120 million of military funding.
So this is the first time that we're attaching a prosthetic device to an implant that protrudes out of his skin and allows the prosthesis to actually be physically attached to his skeleton.
Okay, elbow extend, elbow in. I had a problem with all the arms that I was working with. I was having skin breakdown on my stump. With osseointegration, you don't have to worry about the suction on the stump. You connect directly to the implant, and so therefore, you can continue wearing it, no matter what.
Johnny's implant allows for more strength and mobility, but maybe more impressive is he can control the arm with his thoughts. For this, he had to undergo another surgery to rearrange the nerves from his missing arm.
All right, so we'll just start with no movement. Ready? Let's Pronate. Supinate. Go.
We are actually witnessing something that has never been done before, is Johnny really controlling that limb simply by thinking about it with normal intuitive thought. We are using wireless myobands to transmit that muscle activity. So now when he thinks of moving his missing limb, it now contracts those newly reinnervated muscles.
Elbow flexion, ready, and go. Hand open, and go. Wrist rotate in, and go. Ready, and go, and go, and go.
It's hard. Yeah, I've done hundreds of thousands of hours of mental exercises, just trying to do the different grips, bends, rotations, points, pinch. So anyone that, right after the surgery, they think they can step right back into it and, just start working it. I mean, you're in for a rude awakening. It takes a lot of time.
While this arm isn't nearly as impressive as you would see in, say, Star Wars, it's one hell of an achievement and gives us a glimpse into what kind of world is truly possible. Transhumanism probably isn't going to be something we experience in our lifetimes, same with anarchism. However, gaining a better understanding of the philosophy and possibilities of said philosophy, it is the building blocks of an ideal society. I'm Darkscythe, and that is Anarcho-Transhumanism.